Hi, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to speak with you.
Excited to speak with you too, as well. So, we're just gonna go and I'll ask you a couple of questions. So, firstly, could you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Jeff Johnston. I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is a flyover state. So a lot of people flying from Denver to Chicago fly right over Iowa. It's a great place to grow up and raise a family. I've learned a lot, and the Iowa people are just so nice. And again, it's an area that, even as beautiful and as laid back as it is, mental health, substance abuse, and addiction are
Yeah,
prevalent here like they are anywhere in the world. So,
yeah, exactly. And could you just tell us a bit more about, your story growing up, and I guess how you found yourself, where you are right now with Brighton?
yeah, I mean, just going back 6 years ago, I was happily married, three boys, running an investment company. And over the last 6 years, a lot has changed.
Yeah,
I've been through a lot, but then again, who hasn't been through a lot? The longer you
yeah,
live, the more likely things are going to happen. And
yeah.
October 4th, 2016, we got that call that every parent dreads, and they'd found our oldest son, Seth, dead from fentanyl poisoning in a hotel room.
Mm,
And that really catapulted us into this journey of mental health advocacy and substance abuse
yeah.
discussions and addiction. So, and then shortly after that, my wife Prudence passed away. The death certificate says alcohol abuse, but
Mm,
it was from the grief of losing a child, and
yeah.
alcohol was just ended up being what was going to numb the pain. And
Mm,
so I went from 50 years old, happily married, three kids, running a company, to 6 years later, oldest son not here, my wife's not here. But I have tremendous gratitude for what I do have. And even the ones that aren't here, like my mom died right after my wife died.
yeah.
I'm grateful for the years I had with those people that are no longer here. So
Mm,
part of our mission, part of our story is to, by continuing conversations with deceased loved ones, their legacy has a chance to continue as well. And when we
yes.
stop talking about people, they truly
Mm,
die. They truly die.
mm.
And so that's a little backdrop of who I am. And so I do this full time. I sold my investment company that I've built up since age 23. And
Mm,
I didn't go buy a big fancy house on the beach or on the golf course and fish all day. I have no desire to ever do that. I'm too active right now.
yeah.
I like mental health advocacy,
Mhm.
and that brings me to where we are today with 3Advance and
Yeah.
our newest initiative, Brightn, which we're launching in this summer.
Yeah, exactly. Firstly, thank you so much for sharing, your story. Really sorry to hear about that. But also really inspired by, your attitude, like going from what's happened to where you are now. I think that's very, very inspiring. And I hope that people like listening or watching can really, really learn a lot from that. And I think I also really resonate or understand when you say, when you stop speaking about people that are gone, like they really die. I've
Mhm.
heard this quote, like to live in the hearts of those you love is to live forever.
Mm.
And I think that's definitely something that I can like identify with or kind of understand to an extent. So for the next question, could you tell us a bit more about the story behind Brighton? So I guess how did you come up with the idea? I know it's from the situations that have happened in your
Mhm.
life, but I guess how did you go from, that grief and to being like, oh yeah, this is something that I want to start and I want to, help young people as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of this came from our tour we did last summer around the United States.
Mm,
So I decided to buy an RV, get it fully wrapped with the Living Undeterred US tour, and just go on a multi-state. In this case, we went to 38 states, met with
mm-hmm.
35 nonprofits last summer over 95 days. And it was
Oh
so
wow.
humble. Yeah, it was so humbling to just tootle around the United States in an RV with my two boys, and just pull into strange towns that wanted to collaborate with us and support our mission, and just talk to people. And it was beautiful. I mean, everybody should have an opportunity to do that, to get out of your own environment. just meet strangers. But the funny thing is, not funny, but probably the irony is, we all have a story. I mean, mine, sure, pretty dramatic, but I've met people on the tour that have substantially more dramatic stories than mine.
Okay.
Substantially. I met one individual where their whole family was murdered
Oh my
by
God.
another family member that had substance abuse problems, and then they
Oh, wow.
took their own life. So, I think what I learned going around the story was, I think comparing grief is a very dangerous thing. When people say, well,
Okay.
I can't compete with what Jeff went through, so my pain isn't worthy. And we're like,
Mm,
no, that's not true. I tell my story not to get sympathy. I tell it for people to find something relatable, some nugget of wisdom that they can take and apply to their own life. And maybe your only thing in your life is your cat got put down last year.
mm-hmm.
But you know what? If you don't have kids and you're not married, that's the most important thing to you. That's legitimate concern for grief. And
Concern. Yeah.
yeah, so I think part of my story is to make sure people understand I don't really care how severe or how dramatic your story is. The fact is, it's your story
Mm-hmm.
and you're not alone.
Yeah.
We're in this together. So the idea of Brightn popped in my head while I was in the RV. I just didn't feel like I was doing enough. I do a
Okay.
podcast. I wrote a book. I'd have a radio show. I thought, I don't want to do another book. I don't want to do 2-hour podcast. So
Yeah.
what else can I do to be productive in my advocacy? And it just popped in my head. Buy an RV, drive around the United States. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a normal thought, but I'm widowed. I don't do much. I work on my passions, and this was a great way to do it. So the whole Brightn idea came from my observation of the struggles with Gen Z.
Yeah.
That's what it came to.
Okay.
And Gen Z is
Okay.
basically, Gen Z is 12 to about 26.
Yes.
And that's 70 million Americans. And it's 1/3 of the world's population.
Well,
It's a huge ship full of
mm-hmm.
humans that are destined to take over the world, but they're
Great.
ill prepared.
Okay.
They're depressed. They're anxious. They have no confidence in the political system. They think the earth is not going to be even around for them when they're 80 because of global
Mm-hmm.
warming, climate change,
Yeah.
plastics in the ocean. So they're not overly optimistic. So they lack meaning and purpose. So purpose became a foundation of Brightn,
Yeah.
to give kids a reason to get out of bed,
Charisma.
feel excited about their life. Yeah.